Hi, everybody. Welcome to the first really in-person meeting of the year. Is that possible? It is, isn't it?
Well,
We had two crazy weather conditions that maybe weren't so bad, maybe not. So it's nice to see people real and in real life, and of course, people who are out there on Zoom as well. This is our first in-person meeting, but our third meeting for 2025 of the Northeast Philadelphia History Network. And the History Network is a offshoot of the Friends of Northeast Philadelphia History. And I'm the president of the Friends. And Janine, who is going to make a presentation tonight, and she's one of a long series now of board members that have made presentations. She is an actual chief of special branch in the Philadelphia Free Library. So her topic, where a lot of topics that we do are things that are avocation. This one is really her vocation. This is about the library. And she's a Philadelphian. She's a Northeast Philadelphian, and she works for the library. What a perfect topic for her. The great libraries of the Northeast. So we're really excited to have her talking to us this evening. So welcome, please, Janine Pollock. Oh, you.
Thank you, Maureen. And thank you all for being here. This is actually a little bit of a departure for me because my job at the Free Library is in the Special Collections Division. And at this point, talking about the branches is sort of like it straddles that because it's the history of the library, and it's our library system is very important to the city. But actually, at the time of the 1876 Centennial Exhibition in Philadelphia, a meeting was held among public libraries, and the result was the formation of the American Library Association. At that time, there were many local subscription and specialized libraries throughout the city, but actually no free public library. In 1891, the Free Library of Philadelphia was chartered for the use of the people of Philadelphia, a general library which shall be free to all. If that works. Okay, I have to use the mouse. The first location was the Wagner Free Institute at 17th and Montgomery. That's branch number 1, which is now, it's still the Wagner Free Institute of Science and still in existence. And that's the interior. Our current library system has 54 locations, including Parkway Central, 3 regional libraries, a library of accessible media for Pennsylvanians, shortly known as LAMP, and 49 neighborhood libraries. The neighborhood libraries are divided into clusters throughout the city, and I'm going to discuss the 2 clusters that cover Northeast Philadelphia. So the Northeast, Bushrod, Frankfort, Greater Allenby, Longcrest, Northeast Regional, Tacony, and Wyoming. Not all of those fit neatly into our universe of Northeast Philadelphia history, but we're going to talk about them anyway. And then the far Northeast neighborhood libraries, Bustleton, Fox Chase, Holmesburg, Catherine Drexel, Torresdale, and Welsh Road, with a cameo appearance by the Ryers branch, which many of you know, and is a storied and wonderful institution. So I'm going to talk a little about each of these libraries, more or less chronologically as they came to be part of the Free Library system. Many had their roots in community organizations and learned societies that fulfilled the needs of citizens out here who were far removed from the universities and cultural resources in Central City, and these people who were readers and they wanted books. The photos are predominantly from the Free Library of Philadelphia archives, many of them preserved in the print and picture collection and available in our digital collections. So I have if it's freelibrary.org/digital, if you want to take a look yourself. with some additional images from the Friends of Northeast Philadelphia History's Bruce Connor collection. The Frankfurt Avenue branch is mentioned in the Free Library's first annual report in 1896, one of 7 locations at that time. The first library in Northeast Philadelphia in the library system. The Frankfurt Library and Reading Room Association had been founded in 1823. In 1857, it joined with the Oxford Library, transferring its books and locating themselves at Wright's Industrial and Beneficial Institute at 1858 Frankfurt Avenue. In 1900, wait a minute, okay, yeah, I didn't have an exterior of the Wright's Industrial, so. But here we are in 1900, it became part of the library and served patrons from that location until this Andrew Carnegie building was erected in 1906. In 1959, it was remodeled, and this is a photo from the Bruce Connor collection, a different view of it. And here are some interior shots of that building. So in 1959, it was remodeled, so drastically different, replacing the neoclassical building with the glass and steel structure of today. There's a renovation currently underway. Here's a few other shots of it. It's at Overington and Frankfurt, and interior shots. But the current renovation is expected to be completed by early this summer, and it includes updates to the lobby, to the basement, the facade, the outdoor area, and an expanded children's department, in addition to infrastructural improvements. So I just wanted to say a word about Andrew Carnegie, that you've heard of Carnegie Libraries. The businessman and philanthropist Andrew Carnegie built more than 2,500 libraries throughout the world between 1883 and 1929. In 1902, it was the Free Library's turn. He donated $1.5 million to build 30 libraries in Philadelphia. And spoiler alert, we only built 25. Many of them still stand today, including Holmesburg and Tacony. And the Wyoming Library, completed in 1930, and which we'll talk about in a bit, has the distinction of being the last library in the world funded by Carnegie. Next was Holmesburg. The Holmesburg Reading and Library Association was founded in 1867 as a subscription library. In 1880, it was transferred to the trustees of the Lower Dublin Academy. In 1898, they asked to be affiliated with the Free Library of Philadelphia. The Thomas Home branch opened in 1900 in the Athenaeum at 8000 Frankfurt Avenue, the building depicted here, and the interior here and there. And then in 1906, the trustees of the Lower Dublin Academy donated land, and the Andrew Carnegie donated funds for the new branch, which opened on June 26, 1907, which will look familiar to people from the Holmesburg neighborhood, if you've ever been there. And here are a couple interior shots. So here's another Bruce Connor photo. Can you see that? Can you see what it is? It's, tell you in a minute. But although the Bustleton Avenue branch did not open in its present location until 1965, it has its origins as one of the Free Library's first traveling libraries. Traveling libraries were collections of books owned by the Free Library that would be held at local location in the community and circulate in the same way that books at a branch would. First mentioned in the 1897 annual report as having a presence in Somerton, in 1905, traveling libraries were added to Bustleton and Fox Chase. So the Bustleton Traveling Library contained 50 books, and it was located at Tustin's drugstore. And I did not have a picture of Tustin's drugstore, but then 6 years later, it moved to St. Luke's Chapel. The space was small and the hours were limited to 1 day each week. And this, then in 1941, the citizens of Bustleton petitioned City Council for a proper branch, which opened in 1942 in Union Hall at 9230 Bustleton Pike. There's a close-up shot of Union Hall. And an interior. Then, in 1960, the library rented space on the second floor of a building at Bustleton and Grant, which will look familiar to us Northeasters, far Northeasters, in what is now a Bank of America, while work began on the current library at Bustleton and Berea. So here's the interior of that library. And here's a shot of an early shot of the current building, which was designed by Alexander Ewing and Associates, and it has echoes in several branches of that vintage, including Cecil B. Moore Library, which is actually across the street from our first location at Wagner Free Institute, down near Temple University. And so a couple of interior shots in its pristine form when it first opened, the Bustleton Library. And then a point of pride for the Bustleton Library is the sculpture Man's Learning Preserved, which was created for the newly built branch by James House Jr. And it depicts many signs and symbols used to record ideas from ancient times to the space age. So next is Tacony. And as this audience knows, the Tacony community grew up around Diston Sawworks. The Tacony Library has roots in the Keystone Scientific and Literary Association, founded in 1876 by M. Louise Thomas. Last year, we had a presentation by one of my colleagues, Susan Weber, about the society. So I won't go into detail, only to say that it attracted important speakers like Susan B. Anthony and P.T. Barnum. In 1885, the Keystone Scientific and Literary Association changed its name to the Diston Library and Free Reading Room and moved to Tacony Music Hall, a local amenity which had been built by Henry Diston. In 1906, the Diston family bequeathed a plot of land at Torresdale Avenue and North Street for the construction of a library funded by the Carnegie Foundation. And that branch opened on November 27th, 1906. Several renovations have been undertaken at Tacony over the years in response to the evolving needs of the community. In 1927, a lecture room was remodeled and became a children's reading room. I didn't have a picture of that, but here is, you can see some of the interior of it. And the most recent renovation occurred in 2013, which was made possible by the Free Library's 21st Century Library Initiative, which made the building fully ADA compliant and placed special focus on small businesses and entrepreneurs, helping to further revive the business community in the area. And an interior shot. And at that time, 4 major renovations took place in city libraries. So the Robert W. Ryers branch. William W. Ryers willed his Fox Chase Estate Burr home to the city of Philadelphia to become a park, a library, and a museum. In 1910, while it was under the control of the Fairmount Park Commission, the Free Library was appointed agent for the building's operation. 2 rooms on the second floor of the building became the Robert W. Ryers branch, while the ground floor housed a reading room and a collection of fine and decorative arts. The grounds of the estate became Burnham Park, and the branch operated in the Free Library system until 1955. Since then, it has continued as an independent circulating library and serves the Fox Chase Burham communities. And it's still under the Parks and Recreation. So just here's one of the interludes we'll have from just going through the buildings. And just to say that this was the state of library service in the Northeast until 1930. There wasn't another library opened in all that time, over, like 25 years or so. When the aforementioned Carnegie funded the Wyoming branch. So maybe let's talk a little bit about what happened in these libraries at that time, like what was happening. But lectures, lots of lectures. By this time, there were libraries throughout the city, not in the concentration there are today, but more like between like 15 to 20 in areas that were densely populated. And success was measured in the annual reports I reviewed by the number of books circulated. We were above any library in the nation, including like New York, Boston, and Chicago. We just were circulating lots and lots of books. The number of magazines and journals on hand, and the number of public programs. So at this point, like no less than the head librarian of record, John Thompson, lectured throughout the city, and this is a cartoon from, I don't even know where it's from, but it was in our print and picture collection. He would lecture on topics such as Sir Walter Scott, Nathaniel Hawthorne, and Charles Dickens. His expertise wasn't confined to literature, and he presented travelogues of locations throughout Europe, such as the Rhine and its legends, Florence, Venice, Paris, London, and Switzerland. The popularity of these lectures is demonstrated by the fact that they could not be contained in the library building, and they were held at St. Mark's in Frankfurt, at Frankfurt and Unity. So I think this is the church. This was a Bruce Conner photo as well. The attendance was anywhere from 300 to in excess of 600 people. This was in each of these 6 lectures over this around just a little over a month. So with no Netflix to binge on, and the Thompson and the other experts that were almost every night at any library location were lecturing. It was the only game in town. So the period of the early 20th century also marked the rise of story hours for children, and the Free Library was an early and ardent adopter of that. These were extremely well attended, and the topics would be similar to those of adult presentations, like mythology, travel, folklore, classic literature. Because it was before picture books took hold in our children's services. And the popularity of the children's story hour caused us to rethink several of the buildings, like as we saw in Tacony, to make a larger place for the children to be. And I think this is probably Wagner Free Institute. But we didn't have photos of story hours from that period, or that I could find, or the lectures. And then the other thing that was going on was Parkway Central Library was being planned and executed, drawing the attention away from new branches in the neighborhoods. From the earliest days of its existence, the Free Library had struggled with inadequate main buildings that had been repurposed, like this one, which was the converted concert hall, the old concert hall it was called, and it served as the headquarters for years, and was in successive annual reports was said to be crowded and unsafe. So this was like, the main library. But from the time the new building was approved in 1897 until its opening on June 2nd, 1927, all focus was dedicated to on the political maneuvering and the financial gymnastics it took to get it built. So there's the Parkway Central Library, a rendering. And also, and then also Carnegie declined to help. This is a note from him saying that he's ceased, CEAST, to contribute to the great libraries of the great cities years ago, and gives us like a little advice. Why don't you see what they're doing in New York? And that's, you know, this 1913 is part of the reason it took us 30 years to get that building built. And you know what else? This is John Thompson again. He was busy lecturing almost every night of the week too. I can't even imagine the schedule. So here's next, we're at the Wyoming branch, which serves the Feltonville area. And so just to be comprehensive, I'm not sure like if it's really in our territory, but that's fine because this is at B Street in Wyoming, and it's a 10,000 square foot portion of a recreation center that was located there, which was set aside by council for the Free Library in 1927. So, and as I mentioned, it would be the last of the 25 libraries constructed through the Carnegie Endowment and the last ever through Carnegie. Building cost far outpaced the initial $1.5 million endowment. In fact, the winning construction bid was $111,700, twice the cost of the Free Library's two previous Carnegie branches. The building included more elaborate details than the other Carnegies, with marble instead of wood for the interior steps and ledges under the bookshelves. You can kind of see that in this picture. Central Library has something similar where the bookshelves are lined with marble. And then the outside cornices and other decorative features were made of French limestone. And the skeleton was steel and concrete. Even the roof foundation is concrete, which I'm imagining may actually be a bug at this point rather than a feature. And this library opened its doors in 1930. And then another sort of outlier is Greater Alany, which is, so in Alany, unaffiliated free libraries existed there as early as 1858. In 1945, the Kiwanis Club joined the Alany Community Council to advocate for a branch library. And the Greater Alany branch opened in the former Alany Bank and Trust Company building in October 1949 at 5th Street and Tabor Roads. Inside mural and a cute little sculpture. And then Bushrod. So the Bushrod branch is named after Philadelphia eye surgeon and humanitarian Dr. Bushrod Washington James. Dr. James acquired his skills as an eye surgeon when he served as attending physician at the Northern Home for Friendless Children, and he later went on to found the Bushrod Home. He helped thousands of poor children and adults at the Institute, treating many of them without being paid for his services. A pacifist, Dr. James served as a medic at the Battle of Antietam, and after the Civil War, he crusaded for women's suffrage and wrote a book on the topic. He also wrote extensively on medicine and travel. When Dr. James died in 1903, it was found that he had left instructions in his will for the founding of the Bushrod Library at his home on Green Street near Logan Square. In 1948, the library trustees received permission to transfer Dr. James's endowment to a new library that would be built in the Oxford Circle neighborhood. The Bushrod branch opened on October 25th, 1950, and in keeping with Dr. James's bequest, a special room was designated for use by children. And today, the Bushrod room is used for story hours and other children's programming. It also houses some artifacts from Dr. James's lifetime and of service and travel. Fox Chase. In October 1951, volunteers and members of the Fox Chase Civic League renovated the first floor of the school building at Ron and Jean Street for a library. However, by the mid-60s, the library proved to be too small for the needs of the community. The Friends of Fox Chase Library lobbied for a new library to be added to the city's capital budget. In 1967, the old school was torn down and a trailer was used temporarily. And in 1968, the new library opened. In accordance with the Percent for Art initiative that actually originated in Philadelphia, the newer libraries in the system have some unique pieces. Fox Chase Library's The Three Bears is a stone sculpture by artist and author George Papashvili, and can be found in the library's garden. And there's another view of it from the inside. So the Longcrest branch was the result of activism by concerned citizens, dissatisfied with weekly visits by the Free Library's bookmobile. And I'm just going to go through this little slideshow of bookmobile pictures that someone just dropped off in my mailbox, and so I scanned them. These were snapshots that I scanned. And this is the Solace Cohen School, like around that area. So you can see our row house is in the back. And there was another school too. I can't remember the name of it. But these would be because there was such scant library service in the Northeast and they were few and far between. We had to use bookmobiles to serve the public. And additionally, students would have to travel to Greater Alany or Bushrod to do research to complete school assignments. So in March 1957, Mildred Pruitt, a community activist, launched a campaign to get a branch library constructed, organizing community meetings and starting a petition drive at neighborhood schools and businesses. After much wrangling to get the plan into the capital budget, the Longcrest Branch Library opened its doors on September 18, 1961. The site chosen for the branch was city-owned land adjacent to the Longcrest Recreation Center on Rising Sun Avenue and Conley Streets. Wait a minute, spoiler alert. And the Longcrest Library recently opened, like a soft opening, after an extensive renovation through the city's Rebuild initiative. And the ribbon cutting ceremony will be announced for some time in April. It may be that it's next Thursday, but just keep in mind for that if you're interested in seeing what's the new renovation at Longcrest. So in 1955, the Free Library developed the concept of the regional library, which would serve as a branch for its immediate area and as a bridge between the comprehensive collections at Central Library and the more modest resources offered by the neighborhood branches. On July 11, 1962, ground was broken for the Northeast Regional Library, and actually this is the location. A pen fruit had to give its life for the Northeast Regional Library. So this was the first in a series of proposed regional libraries that would be built in each geographical sector of the city. And we ended up building only 3 of them. I think 5 were proposed. So just to quote from this Hidden City article, because they really love this building, and it's become an important hub in the community. Constructed in the midst of Northeast Philadelphia's frenzied post-war development, the Northeast Regional Library has changed little in the decades since and stands today as a landmark to the city's mid-century expansion and development. In its position along cluttered Cotman Avenue, the library stands out for its high modernist design, even as it echoes the scale and materials of the shopping centers and strip malls around it. The building is successful as a community center, integral to the assimilation of immigrants from 4 continents, because it asserts the importance of civic life even amidst the fragmented 20th century streetscape. A modernist design was intentional for this new regional initiative. For the design, the Free Library chose the architectural. My microphone is here. Can you turn it up a little bit? How's that? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize you couldn't hear me. Modernist design was intentional for this new regional initiative, like I said. For the design, the Free Library chose the architectural firm of Geddes, Brecher, Qualls, Cunningham, the same firm responsible for the Philadelphia Police Headquarters at 8th and Race Streets, completed in 1959. And so here's an elevation of the building and the sort of under construction photo. And Northeast Regional offers a collection of more than 150,000 books. Here's the opening day with the mayor. And it's divided into 4 subject departments, including the children's department, and a 5th department offers an extensive collection of periodicals, which many of you know is on that level up there. The lowest level then is that meeting room. It's like an auditorium meeting room. So here's another interlude that just to talk a little bit about controversy and complaints. The 1960s and 70s were a time of upheaval and cultural change that bled into the materials available and on demand and the programs we provided at the Free Library. We were faced with many challenges to our rationale for providing access to these materials and programs, or at times taken to tasks for not providing access. And here's the automation behind the scenes of Northeast Regional. In 1977, one of our state representatives wrote to express concern that children had attended screenings of Psycho and the Birds as part of a Hitchcock retrospective at the Northeast Regional Library. Library Director Keith Doms replied with his explanation that in one case, the children were accompanied by their parents, and in the other, staff had received signed notes from the parents. Case closed, but not before Mr. Doms explains the approach we continue to take to programming, that there is a process and a method, and that there are, people involved. And, these days we try to also involve the community to the greatest extent possible. Another complaint had to do with the book Do It by activist and counterculture icon Jerry Rubin. The book had passed our book selection committee on literary merit and importance to the literature, so we made it available for branches to order and carried it at Parkway Central. So the idea is that the Parkway Central is a more comprehensive collection, and then if the book is, if there's a budget for it, the book is offered to the branches. So anyway, it caused quite a stir in the Northeast, and so much so that the controversy attracted the attention of library professional societies and publications. So this is a letter from our associate director to the editor of the Wilson Library Bulletin, talking about publicity in the Northeast sections of metropolitan dailies. Remember when there was a Northeast section of was it the Bulletin or the Inquirer, both? And also the Northeast Times. Criticism has come from this one area of the city. Yes. And then, so that was, sorry, that might be like too loud. So that was that. And, but in a related but opposite complaint about books not found on the shelves, an extremely curious-minded person complained that Do It was not available at Northeast Regional Library, nor was Abby Hoffman's Woodstock Nation. There seems to have been confusing information imparted because these books were supposed to be there on the shelves, but were missing. The reader also complained of two other titles that were unavailable to her: Aldous Huxley's Doors of Perception and Timothy Leary's Psychedelic Experience. In the Northeast Regional Library's defense, when books on this subject matter are kept on open shelves, they tend to disappear for any number of reasons. We have a collection, and this is also like part of the exhibition, looking at these books. There's a little trove of them that are only available to me now for this exhibition because they were put behind the sort of closed doors of the science section of the library. So that concludes our interlude on psychedelics. Did you think you were going to get that at this presentation? So here is the site of the Welsh Road Library that was selected. The Welsh Road branch opened to the public on November 11, 1968. It is located in the back of the Northeast Shopping Center, employing a futuristic design with 3 walls of glass to provide additional interior lighting. The black and white marble mosaic space cage dominates the entryway, and the library was awarded the Distinguished Building Award by the Pennsylvania Society of Architects in 1970 for its design. We're getting there, we have 2 more left. Catherine Drexel. So up until the 1950s, of course, the area served by Catherine Drexel was mostly rural. And in 1954, the city opened the area to development, and the neighborhood proliferated with row homes, recreation centers, and schools. The Catherine Drexel branch opened its doors on September 24th, 1969, and became one of the busiest branches in the system. In November of that year, the branch was dedicated to Mary Catherine Drexel, a Philadelphia heiress who founded the Sisters of the Blessed Sacrament, an order devoted to the education of African American and Native American children. Mother Drexel was named a saint of the Roman Catholic Church on October 1st, 2000, and her portrait hangs at the entrance to the branch. There is also a teakwood sculpture of a mother and a child reading together, The Reading Bench by Evelyn Keyser, symbolizing the Free Library's commitment to literacy. And then finally, our youngest Northeast branch, the Torresdale Library, which opened its doors in February of 1972. The vaulted ceilings are visible in this interior photo. The Torresdale Library is legendary for its annual Halloween haunted house. And it's such a great graphic. The gradual reach of library services into the Northeast owes a great debt to the founders and participants in the intellectual societies in some of the earliest neighborhoods of the city, the generosity and foresight of business owners and community organizations, and the community members who spoke up about the need for services so vital to our community's flourishing. I hope you will enjoy your library and all it has to offer. So I'm happy to take questions, and Maureen will come to you with the microphone so that the Zoom folks can hear too, I believe.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so you were talking about the Robert Ryer's library.
Yeah.
But I couldn't really make out what you were saying. So was it a public library or was it a private library? What was the history there?
It was given over to, like in the will, they wanted it to become a museum and a library for the public. It was under the control of the Park Service at the time, the Parks and Recreation. But then somehow in 1905, the city wanted the Free Library to take it over. So it was, am I saying the right date? So 1904. And it lasted until 1955 when it was given back to the Park Service. But it's still a library because that's what is in the will, that it would be a museum and a library. Yes, yes.
Up until 55.
From. Is that me? That might be me. Yeah, from 1910 until 1955, it was part of the free library system. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, the Ryers Library is still there,
Yes.
and it has you can take books out,
You can take books out.
including Macmillan's. They're very recent, actually.
They buy new books, and
Yeah.
they have a pretty good collection.
Yeah, the problem is the elevator hasn't worked in 5 years,
Yes.
and they've had the money set aside and set aside and set aside. And nobody seems to be, nobody wants to take the blame, I'll call it, for that happening, including the 10th District Council man and Parks and Recreation as it's known now.
Right.
And City Hall itself. So it's a real problem.
It is, because it's a great resource.
I actually had a question about that. It's interesting that it's a private lending library. Are there any others in the city of Philadelphia that you know of?
Well, the Athenaeum in town, I mean.
I wasn't thinking about
you-
academic
it's
places.
that-
I was just, yeah.
But I think some of them are membership libraries as well. But I can't think of any other free.
Free ones. That's correct. That's just such an interesting concept since we have such great depth of free library. I mean, your map was great. I mean, a lot of times we feel like we've been forgotten in the Northeast, but the reality is the libraries didn't forget us. We had lots of them, and a lot of them came in as neighborhoods were being developed. So that's really great. We have
Right,
depth
right.
there.
And even the services, the traveling libraries from the earliest times as well.
Let me do a chat here. I'm gonna do a chat. Who was the architect of the Welsh Road Library? Welsh Road Library.
Did I say? that? I might have to look it up if I didn't have it in my comments. I did not say, and I'm not.
It was on the slide on the bottom and it went by too fast.
Oh, that's right, it was.
And I tried to read it and I couldn't read it.
No.
Looks like Stoneroff.
Donera.
Oh my God. Stoneroff, and I can't read it. Too blurry here.
I know, how did we get rid
It
of
looks
that?
like Stonerov and Haws, Haws.
And what's the
Howes,
last one?
Haws.
Hawes, HAWS probably. Yeah, Stoneroff worked with Hawes.
HAWS, yeah.
Oh my God, I didn't know that one. He did a lot of work. I'd studied him a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, just not, I mean, to go out of the region a little bit, can you tell me a little bit about the East Falls Library? I'm noticing like it was in a real old building. When was that established?
I don't have that information it's definitely interestingly enough, each of these libraries have like the little, a location webpage with the information on them about the library, like sort of the history of the library, where it is, the hours, but also it will say like when it was built and all of that. I can say that, we have with these 55 locations as well as offsite storage and other things that it's a lot of capital projects that are in the sort of docket to be done. And
Well, did a lot of the libraries go into like repurpose buildings instead of having a new building made just for that library?
many of them did, yeah. Most recently, that it came up, the Widener, and it's very prominent in the early annual reports, the Widener Library at Broad, and it was the Widener Mansion. They donated it to the Free Library in 1898 or something like that. And it just fell into disrepair. And then we moved to another, we moved the Widener branch to a building on Lehigh Avenue. And that Lehigh Avenue branch was open for several years, but that was difficult to maintain. And they actually built a new library, a brand new building that opened in 2002. And it's beautiful, but
So how many Carnegie libraries are left in the city? Is it 4, I think?
no, I mean, I just.
I mean, the actual buildings, not like Frankfurt that got completely redone, but
There's King Sessing, there's Cobb's Creek, there's
Holmesburg,
Tacony.
Tacony.
Holmesburg and Tacony, not Frankfurt.
Is that still a Carnegie?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay, so 5
Right.
maybe? Or-
yeah. I mean, there might be more, but I just, like, I didn't
Okay,
look at the.
but we've got I guess, more of a concentration of them in the Northeast than anywhere else, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
and I didn't mention this, but the land for the Frankfurt Avenue branch was donated by someone by the name of Comley Hunter.
Sorry?
Comley Hunter, I think is the name of the person who donated the land for the Frankfurt. Yeah.
I just have I guess a comment and a question. As far as over at the Ryers Library, I was just there a couple weeks ago were you there for the opening of the used book sale and all? Cheryl mentioned to me, I thought, if I heard correctly, that they finally got some kind of grant because their steps were killing me too, for that elevator finally. That's what I believe she. Oh. Oh dear, okay. That's a shame. But my question is related to the Bustleton Library. I couldn't hear what you were saying about it, but the original building is the current library in the same location as that old original building that you showed on there?
No,
Where was the original one at?
the original one, well, the first one was Tustin's drugstore, but that was the traveling library. And then St. Luke's Chapel, which is still there. But then the other one, oh, and then Union Hall, 9230 Bustleton, said Bustleton Pike, but I'm assuming it's.
That was a library? It's that church now? That was a library at one time? And that was the building that she showed up there that, oh, okay, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear. Thank you.
I do feel like you took a tour of my childhood because it seems like I was in a lot of those libraries.
I
It was very
know. How
interesting.
many like agonizing hours in Northeast Regional doing projects and.
It was never fun at the Northeast Regional.
It
There was
really
always a
wasn't.
gun to my head to get a project.
It
done
really-
exactly
yeah.
right. And I had to have a load of nickels because I had to make Xeroxes, right? Fred, are there any other questions from?
Yeah, there's mostly comments. Northwest has 2 Carnegie branches, Chestnut Hill and Ovid.
Love it.
Love it, love it, love it. Okay. Those are 2, and that's in Mount Airy. East Falls. East Falls has a library built in 1913 that was funded by Carnegie. I don't know whether it's the Carnegie design or not, but it was funded by him.
Yeah.
We'll take his money.
Mhm.
The Tarsdale Library was designed by a church architect and actually looks like a small church inside.
It does. It's a beautiful building. I mean, if you like that sort of thing, which I do.
And fun to see a piece, I guess it was a sculpture by Evelyn Kaiser, Temple University School of Arts graduate, known for her public art and sculpture.
Yes.
A lot of interesting presentation, and thank you. I think that's pretty much it on the chats. I did have a question. Are we seeing any efforts to control books now? You mentioned the attempt to control the psychedelic books. Are we seeing some of that as a result of our current political situation?
We aren't, it can go either way. Like some people don't want to see books on conservative, or, you know, like the topics that are really leaning far right or far left, you know, but we have a process for it, and most of the time it's you know, it's a book that's been through our you know, evaluation process, and we have, you know, like sort of a policy in place, and it's basically, you know, it's on the shelf if it's, you know, like we're not going to carry something that's obscene or that is like, you know, information that is not accurate. So there's, you know, there's that sort of safeguard, but otherwise, you know, we do get challenges, and there's a form on our website to, you know, if you have a question about a book that's in the collection. There's also, you know, we get questions about programs as well. So that can be controversial as well.
Linda Caldwell Smith mentions that there are 19 left of the 25 Carnegies built in Philadelphia. Yeah, that's what she says. That means only 6 have been eliminated. That sounds like a lot. Linda, can you comment?
Or have they been, maybe it's ones that have been repurposed, but that I could, you know, I could do a little research, and but if it's possible, you know.
What she says. She's with the Tarsdale branch of the Friends of Tarsdale Library, so
yeah.
fairly knowledgeable.
Interestingly, I just read this week, and I don't remember where it was. There was a picture of 2 women that got together and turned down a Carnegie grant and decided they were going to do their own library, which I thought was very interesting because it made me think, why? And there was no information about why, but, you know, is there a sense that Carnegie had, you know, control over what people were going to be able to read or something? It seemed to me like it always sounded like it was just the most wonderful here, take money and build a library, but was it with strings attached, do you know?
The only thing I've seen is like it must have like a public lecture hall, like that was a requirement. And also they and I just was looking at one of these today. They sent around these portraits of Carnegie to hang in the library, and actually you could see it in one of the photos. I forget which one, but that there would be a portrait in the library of Carnegie. And I think they
seem like a big price to pay.
No. And when they were renovating Blanche Nixon Cobb's Creek, which is a Carnegie, they sent it to Collection Care to look at it. It's just like not even a good, you know, it's not a good painting. It's just like a reproduction. And they're like, okay, we'll hold on to it until you're ready. Oh, is it my next?
Don't laugh.
That's it. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, we got to upgrade that. We have
Are there any more libraries?
Pardon?
Are there plans for any new libraries?
Not at this time. You know, I was thinking, oh, we haven't opened the library in a while, but actually the South Philadelphia branch was built from the ground up, but that was a branch that is existing, you know, but it was in a location that whatever was, the building wasn't adequate. And we worked with the Department of Health in the city and Children's Hospital. And the South Philadelphia branch is now on the first floor of a building that those two other entities are in the building. And it's a beautiful new location, but nothing in the works. I mean, if you remember in, was it like 2008 or 9 when they were trying to close like 6 or so libraries, and because it's a lot of libraries for the population of the city, but people want to have a library, within they want to be able to have a 5-minute drive or less to a library, which is fair,
I'm asking that because Memorial Hall used to have the library temporarily. Free library branch. My mother and a friend of hers. I'm getting. But it never went anywhere after that. Memorial Hall.
That I didn't know.
Memorial Hall. There was a branch of it, temporary. Well, let's see, how old am I now? I guess we go back 70 years.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. And I was thinking about when you showed the picture of all the people crowded around for the presentation in one of the libraries, or I guess that was at church, but it was the library presentation. It seemed like at the time and since that they were trying to close down libraries, they seemed very, dismissive of mission creep, that, libraries should just be giving out books and things and having kids come in after school and having all these things. That wasn't really what a library is about, but I think your presentation kind of makes it seem that that is what a library is about, is having people in there and, having times when people are read to and things are happening.
Yeah.
Is that a big issue with the library now? Are you satisfying the demand out there?
I guess if you're asking, like, is our mission to be that, like, almost like all things to all people, it is kind of like we want to be that third space, if that in the jargon of, like, just it's not a commercial it's not a commercial place, it's not a religious space, it's just a space where people can go and learn something, whether it's to for entertainment or self-improvement. We want to provide resources to do that, and we do. Like, we have these conversations about should we really be having programs about knitting, should that be a thing in the library? But if people want to do that, I think that there's so much that we do that is on our own in our phones that it's nice to be doing something in person, whatever it is. And we still keep statistics, and we still are competitive with each other, like a program and how many people come to the program, and making sure people know about what we're doing and what's available. Did that answer your question, or was it? Yeah.
Are there any other questions online?
Any other questions? There's no other chats.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Janine.
Well, I have a couple of announcements. The Grand Army of the Republic in Holmesburg is having a free Zoom program this Sunday, April 6th at 1 p.m. on the Forgotten Fighters, Chinese Soldiers in the American Civil War. If you will email them at GAR MUSLIB, GAR Museum Library, 1866 at gmail.com. We've had other notifications of their program. We didn't get this one in, but if you look back at your other previous announcements for other months, you'll see the GAR there. They do give a free Zoom program, like generally the first Sunday of,
Yeah. First or second? First, usually.
Yeah, usually the first, Fred, like Tom said, unless it's like January 1st or July 4th. But other than that, it's always the first Sunday.
we're having sound issues.
And if somebody wants to visit the museum, we're open on Tuesdays from like 11 to 4 or 11 to 3. So you can stop down and visit us.
Okay. A couple of other announcements. The Frankfurt Historical Society of Frankfurt will have an interesting meeting on next Tuesday on the immigrants and the sanctuary city, Philadelphia Sanctuary City. A fellow's written a book on that. That should be pretty good. We will be at the Hatboro at the Hatboro Fair, Crooked Billet Fair in April 26th, which happens to also be Earth Day. And I think there's going to be some stuff going on up at the African American Cemetery, a cleanup there on the 6th or the 26th. Our May meeting will be Jack McCarthy speaking on the Poquessing Trail project. The history of the Poquessing Trail project. Oh, Poquessing Trail of History project. Yeah, well, Jack is going to tell us about it. We don't want to take away his talk. And then in June, we're going to be at Trinity Oxford Church. That'll be somewhat of an outdoor event. We'll go around the graveyard and then see a bit of the church. Like we'd like to do each year in June is have an off-site, not here at Pennypack, but do something outdoors when it's light, and Trinity Oxford is an excellent one. In September, we'll have Steve Lauf doing a talk on the Urey House, which is an ongoing question, and Steve is going to clear that question up, we hope. Yes, it is.
1 week from tonight, the Old York Road Historical Society at 7:30 at Abington Friends is going to have what looks like an interesting presentation to me. There was a forger that was selling art to the rich people in the local area, and they thought it was real, and he finally was caught. So it's going to be an author that's written about this. And I love crime and merging it with history. So that just struck my fancy. So I'll definitely be there for that one. So that's just next Wednesday night.
Okay, that wraps
Hey,
it up.
Fred,
Yes.
Manor College is still offering history courses on some of the evenings for the next for the next like 2 months, the different evenings. And if you go on their site, you can find the different courses. They're like 2-hour courses. They're like $20 a shot. And they're on the Civil War, or some of them are on the Revolutionary War and some other subjects like that. And me and Walt Lafty, and I don't know if anybody knows Mike Jessberger, and some other people give some of the courses. So if you want to come out and spend a little time, learning about some of these things, please show up.
That was at Manor College, Tom?
Huh?
Manor College?
Manor College, over by Fox Taste.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to wrap it up. Thanks again to Janine Pollock for the talk tonight. This will be recorded, and you can pick it up on YouTube. See you next month. Bye-bye.